Fire Emblem Cipher is a deep game with a lot of really fun mechanics, but the issue? For us English speakers, the game is in Japanese, so while we would like to enjoy the deep, interesting, fun card game, for us without proper guidance on how to play the game, it's about enjoying the art that the artists have made. I mean, my channel has a ton of videos where I just gush over my favorite artworks, but sometimes the artist doesn't just make a singular card, but multiple, having the card arts connect with one another, creating Fire Emblem Cipher's connected artwork. Today, I will be going through each of the series to go over all the connected artwork in Cipher's history. There are a total of 22 series in Cipher's lifespan, and the connected artwork goes all the way back to their first two sets, which were released at the same time, focused around Arcanea and Ulysse for Series 1, and both Nor and Hoshido in Series 2. The first ever connected artwork goes to the Pegasus sisters, Paula, Catria, and Est. In fact, there are two versions of the sisters, one unpromoted and one promoted, but each of the sets of cards connect with one another really showcases their bonds as siblings, as well as show off their infamous triangle attack move that would become a staple in the mainline Fire Emblem games. And while Paula, Catria, and Est will also have separate cards from one another, in set 15 the siblings are reunited once more but as proper Draco Knights, with all three siblings holding an axe just like their liege Minerva. The other trio, Barst, Board, and Cord, also have connected artwork, also drawn by the same artist Takan, who did the promoted Pegasus Knight sisters for set 1. I adore this artwork, seeing Barst stanced up in the middle with his two Axe Bros Giga Chad standing on the side, while we see them protecting what is presumably the port city of Galder Harbor. They reconnect back again in set 17, once again having connected artwork showcasing their manly bond. Unfortunately, there is no connected artwork for the characters of Awakening in Series 1, but this problem will be remedied in future series. Because of the time that Cipher launched around the time of Fire Emblem Fates, the second set of cards were focused on these characters. This set, featuring characters only from Nor and Hoshido, focuses on their rivalry and not the Revelations versions where they come together. So the connected artwork cards reflect this by having each of the mirroring siblings fight each other. Xander vs Ryoma, Camilla vs Hinoka, Leo vs Takumi, and Elise vs Sakura. And the Twilight background that all these characters share really highlights the moment in Chapter 6 where Corrin has to make a decision on who to side with. Now, this isn't the last time we'll be seeing these siblings, as they are prominent characters in a popular set of games. So while they're fighting against their opposites in set 2, in set 6 the Nor family comes together for a family portrait, and then later in set 7 the Hoshido family does the same. The really cool thing about the family portrait is that the artists from set 2 are called back to draw each of their characters once more, with the Elise Sakura artist, Tetsu Kurosawa, being called up to do them one more time in set 17 for his sisters connected artwork, showcasing all the prominent younger sisters from Fire Emblem's history. In Series 3, the series of cards focused on the continuation of Fire Emblem Fates by doing Revelations as well as Tellius, or more specifically, Path of Radiance Tellius. Revelations only got one set of cards in the set, with both the Corrins and Nor Noble and Hoshido Noble fighting off against Anonkos in the background. You'll see this theme of two important characters, mostly the main characters of each game, fighting off against the final boss, split between the two cards, but we'll get to those cards when we get there. As for the Tellius characters, there are of course the green-haired siblings showing off their ability to do the triangle attack. I always found these three siblings interesting because while in other titles they have to be in the same class for the triangle attack, in Tellius they're all different classes. The three siblings, Oscar, Boyd, and Rolf, meet up once again in Series 14 following the same formation as they were in the third set, but this time in their Radiant Dawn form, as evident by how much more mature they look. Speaking of siblings, Raisin and Leanne also share artwork as they sing into, presumably the altar, to revive the Serenus Forest. And finally, it's JaeAIK versus the Black Knight to round out this series of connected art, showing off the climactic fight that happens in the Path of Radiance. In Series 4, it's a return back to form in Arcanea and Ulysse, but the connected artworks will focus solely on the Tokyo Mirage Session characters. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I have a total of 30 minutes in the TMS games and a little bit from my time playing Fire Emblem Heroes, so I cannot really comment on these set of cards as deeply as I would like to. But all the connected artwork goes to who I hope are your party members. Design wise, I really like Eleonora, and I even like the Viridian artwork as well, but I think this is just my Archer bias coming through here. I'm sure each of the backgrounds for the characters all have some place or moment that you beat these characters in, but again, my lack of knowledge is showing here, and I'm sure someone in the comment section could give me a wall of text educating me on how cool these cards actually are in relation to their origin game. In Series 5, for the first time we enter Alib and we're back in Tellius, but this time following the events that happen in Radiant Dawn. But we're in Binding Blade Alib as we see another set of Pegasus sisters in Shauna, Thea, and Juno sharing card art. The other version of the card is essentially the same card but a higher rarity with different artwork as indicated by the newly added gold border. I like these two sets of cards mainly because I like Sadawa Wakihiko's art style. I think it lends itself well to the Fire Emblem aesthetic. The other shared artwork happens between both Soth and Micaiah, the two characters I think most people will think of when they think of the Dawn Brigade. They also have a plus version of their card, but with a gold border and a little signature because they're a little higher rarity than the Binding Blade Pegasus sisters. Micaiah would later have shared artwork later on again in both Series 12 where the events of Radiant Dawn are happening later on in the tower, but this time not with Soth, but with AIK. I guess we know who didn't make the cut to join the tower. And then later again in Series 20, showcasing the conclusion of Radiant Dawn between our two titular main characters as they unite their views for a better Tellius. There's also a Corrin connected artwork once again with the sun in the background of the Corrins. I wish I had more to say about this piece besides it's nice to look at. In Series 6 we enter Yggdrasil and we're back in Nor but on the Revelation side of things. But let's start off with Yggdrasil, or more specifically Generation 1 of Yggdrasil, as a lot of the shared art showcases a lot of Sigurd's life. Starting with my personal favorite of the three that he has, being the one where Sigurd, Quan, and Eldigan raised their sword and swore an oath to brotherhood. This art depicts something that isn't shown in the game, only mentioned, so it's really cool to see Mayo's depiction of the three in their time in the military academy in Valhalla. The next is when Sigurd meets Deirdre in the forest. This, from an art perspective, is so nice to look at because the insane amount of detail that Rika Suzuki puts into her works. And speaking of her works, the last one, depicting the Battle of Valhalla, showcases Arvis and Sigurd's clash before the untimely demise. All the shared artwork from Yggdrasil in this particular set showcases a moment in Sigurd's life, which makes this a really fun series to collect. Then we have the Norian maids, sisters Felicia and Flora, who share artwork together. These are essentially the same card text-wise, but I love that Cipher just doesn't add a gold border and calls it a day. The new art of the sisters working in tandem with their ice powers is really cool to see. Felicia and Flora would share artwork one more time in Series 22, but this time with JaeAIK. Felicia takes center stage here as her combat prowess is, story-wise, the best out of the three, while to my understanding, Flora has the better control and manipulation over ice. And I like that there is less ice as it pans over to Jacob since he doesn't share their ice powers. And then there's Anonkos, having two different cards, one being black for Nor and the other being white for Hoshido. These two Anonkos have different effects, both having to do with your bond zone and both evolving off of Gunther because of lore reasons. The creepy dragon design is a personal favorite of mine because I like edgy artwork, and to see Anonkos in motion outside of the games is really cool to see. In Series 7 we're back in Hoshido and Alib, but this time following the events of Blazing Sword, as Eliwood and Hector, two brothers in arms, and two of the lords in FE7 share artwork. The crossing of Durandal into Hector's artwork with a dragon that connects them is a detail that I like most about this card, much like the Corrins earlier in Series 3. Eliwood and Hector would share artwork again in Series 13, but joined by the third lord of the series, Lyn. Hector is powered by electricity thanks to Armods, Eliwood is powered by fire thanks to Durandal, and Lyn is powered by wind because of her fitting. And in Hoshido, it's Ryoma's retainers Saizo and Kagero sharing artwork. I like the two elements crossing into each of their artworks, but in the R+ version, instead of sharing artwork horizontally, they share it vertically this time, making it a big pain in my ass when it comes to laying it out in my binder. Saizo and Kagero would share artwork one more time in Series 22, this time joined by Kaze, just like the maids in the same series. Each of their respective colors are shown in full force here. This time, however, because it shares artwork with 3, it lays nicely in my 3x3 binder. In Series 8, we're back in Ylisse and Yggdrasil, but this time following the events of Generation 2. For the Ylisse connected artwork, we have both Tiki and Lucina sharing artwork because of their time together in the Futures Past DLC and the importance of both of these characters in that DLC. But then, Lucina would have shared artwork again in Series 12, but with herself. These are once again the same cards but with different artworks due to differing rarities, but the nice thing about each of these cards is that it showcases the future that she had hoped for and the failed past as evident by their backgrounds. In Yggdrasil, we have artwork for Larce and Seliph. Larce shares artwork with herself, like Lucina, but like the ninjas from Series 7, the artwork stacks on top of each other vertically rather than horizontally. As for Seliph, he mirrors the art of his father back in Series 6. Starting with the Seliph and Julia art mirroring that of his father and mother, but with the parents looking down on them. And for those that are running into the comment section to type out some heinous comment about their relationship that Seliph and Julia share, please don't. It's weird, and I'd rather not think about it. Seliph also mirrors his father once again, like the Sigurd vs Arvis in the Battle of Valhalla, but this time Seliph and Julius are locked in an epic duel against each other in the final confrontation of Fire Emblem 4. Unfortunately, Seliph doesn't have one that mirrors his father's time in the academy until Series 19, where their sons, Leaf, Seliph, and Ares do the same pose that their fathers did, but with each of their legendary weapons. And if you notice, Leaf has both a Gay Bulk and the Light Brand, even though Leaf doesn't use the Gay Bulk in the actual game. And then in the same series, Series 19, Seliph and Julia share artwork, but with the entire cast of Generation 2, finishing the fight that they started all the way back in Generation 1. This concludes all the artworks in Series 6 and in Series 19. In Series 9, we go to Valentia for the first time, as the game has gotten a remake by this point in time, as well as going back to Binding Blade Elite and Tellius. Now that Cipher has tackled most of the regions, they could afford to fit in more than 2 regions per series, and with the exception of Magville having the smallest routes for the Fire Emblem games, we have now visited every region. So, starting off with Valentia, it's of course Alm and Celica sharing artwork with each other. Duma is framed in the background of this shared piece, just like the other Lord's shared artworks, continuing the theme. Alm and Celica will have shared artwork one more time in Series 11 with, funnily enough, Valbar. This one is funny because despite Valbar not being a lord, he's here because he was featured in the original Fire Emblem 2 artwork, so the fact that they reference it here in Cipher is really funny. Back in the Binding Blade, it's Roy and Al, the FE6 manga exclusive character. Al is canon, not canon, to the story of Binding Blade, but to see him in official Fire Emblem Cipher art is really cool, especially if you look at the background and you get to see all the manga exclusive characters, including the homie Gant, who also has a weapon in FE6. Roy will then go on to have more shared artwork, but not with Al. He shares it with Lucina instead, who is implied to be his canon love interest, and this is one of the few Cipher arts that I think I can rank within my favorite top 10 list. It's fun to see our characters in action, that's why Cipher is a lot of fun to look at, but to also see them enjoying what is presumably a lovely evening is weirdly refreshing to look at. And finally, leaving Aleve and going back to Tellius, it's Leith sharing artwork with herself, showcasing one of Tellius' prominent mechanics in the Lagoons. In Series 10, we're back in Yggdrasil and Fates, but for different reasons. For Yggdrasil, we're in Fire Emblem Thracia 776 territory, and for Fates, we're following the story events of the DLC, Heirs of Fate. For the Thracia 776 artwork, there is only one shared artwork from this particular series, and it's Leaf and Nana. I really like canon couples in Fire Emblem, so Leaf and Nana are no exception. This one is also done by Rika Suzuki, and she once again nails it. The remaining cards all have to do with the Heirs of Fate DLC, starting with the 2 Kanas. The split colors on their Ka showcase that they can be used in both black and white decks, showing the union of both Hoshido and Nor, all while they hold the Yaro that they inherited from their mother and father. Shigure and Azura also share artwork here. The song that Azura sings is important to stopping the big evil Anankos, so it's appropriate that they share artwork here. And finally, it's Valoria and Selkie, but in their opposite classes. This can't happen in the actual game, so it's cool that Cipher could do it. Though, I will admit, it is random that they chose Valoria and Selkie to be the shared art characters instead of Shiro and Siegbert, but no complaints from me here. I like the shapeshifters in Fates. Then, in Series 11, we finally make it to Magville, as this was Sacred Stone's first debut into Cipher, as well as our first colorless shared art in Marth and Chrom. Colorless cards are cards that can be used in any deck without any allegiance, and while their usability isn't the greatest, with the exception of Veronica from Fate, allows the art to be flexible. In this case here, it's used to show off Marth and Chrom's lineage to one another. Chrom and Marth share artwork one more time in Series 17, with each of them in their respective colors, but this time showcasing all of the lords in the series, including, yes, Alphonse, the Fire Emblem Heroes OC. And with that, this concludes all the cards from Series 17 as well. As for the Sacred Stones cards back in Series 11, it's of course Ephraim and Erica, and like the other shared lord artworks, the Demon King is chilling in the back, watching as Ephraim and Erica clash the twin weapons amongst each other. In Series 12, we're back in Tellius and Ylisse once more. For the Tellius artwork, we follow a younger Grail and his wife Elena. It's a nice piece of artwork showing Grail in his prime with his wife. It's hard to go into detail about how this particular shared artwork makes me feel, especially when you know what's about to happen, but in this moment, it's peace, it's happiness, and maybe that's okay. Chrom gets another shared artwork here, this time with Naka. This depicts the Falchion coming back to full strength as it was in the mainline game. Chrom returns again in Series 18 but with his older sister Emmeryn. This artwork depicts a not so happy moment in Fire Emblem Awakening as Chrom sees her sister, twice mind you, there's a little Emmeryn in the background of the Chrom part of the card, plummeting to her death. It still blows my mind that they made this shared artwork in Fire Emblem Cipher, and common rarity at that, so everyone can collect it. In Series 13, we're back in Alib and Arcanea. For the Alib cards, besides the shared Lord cards, we see Pent and Louise, the canon couple of Fire Emblem 7, making an appearance. I like this artwork a lot because you get to see their kids in the background and who they take their talents from, like Clarine taking her talent for magic from Pent, and Klein taking his talent for the bow from Louise. Pent is my favorite Fire Emblem character ever, and it's funny to think about how much this guy affects the plot of Binding Blade with how many characters are seemingly related back to Pent. The other Alib shared art card is once again the Pegasus sisters from the Blazing Sword, Florina, Fiora, and Farina, making a nice spread with their Pegasuses being the thing that connects each of their artworks. My favorite thing about this set of art though is how each of the characters have their personalities on full display, whether it be the coins in Farina's artwork, the determination to prove something in Florina's expression, or the calm demeanor that Fiora shows as the eldest of the three. Marth finally gets to share artwork in his own color with a character from his own game for the first time, and he's sharing it with his canon wife Sheeta. I really like what Mayo did in this artwork, with him extending his arms out ready to catch Sheeta in a loving embrace, and I think the English Cipher community also really liked this artwork and card in general, as he's lovingly called Marth Hug or Hug Marth by the community. It adds a little bit deeper lore, but I already made a video about it, and if you're interested, I'll link the video in the description down below and a playlist to my other Fire Emblem Cipher stuff that you can check out. Series 14 returns us back to Ulysse, Hoshido, and Tellius. From Ulysse, we actually have Grima and Robin in their final epic clash against each other. I like the color contrast in this one, with Grima having more red tones and Robin having more blue tones, just like in the games where it depicts both allies and enemies. My favorite thing about this shared artwork though is the magic sigil in the center. I just think it looks cool. The other shared piece of art is Cordelia and Severa. These two characters are constantly ranked as the more popular characters in Awakening both in the West and the East, so it's not surprising to see them share art together. What's even nicer is that Severa is in the Pegasus Rider armor, spending quality time with her mother as they link hands together. And if you understand Severa's character, you know that this is a really touching moment between the two. And finally, it's Takumi's retainers, Hinata and Oboro, who share a piece of artwork. They are in their promoted class, with Hinata being the Master of Arms class and Oboro being in the Spear Master class. Oboro at this point in time is the popular character in the mainline games, and one that's a little bit more controversial in Cipher due to how strong one of her other cards is, and still is. But I think it's overall really nice seeing retainers get the spotlight instead of their liege for once. Series 15 takes us back to Arcanea, but this time following the events of New Mystery of the Emblem. And besides the Pegasus sisters that we talked about, it's once again Marth sharing artwork with Chris. It's fitting that Marth takes the foreground here with his body fully shown, while Chris shows off his back here, like how I would imagine they would fight in general, with Chris having Marth's back. The other shared artwork from Arcanea is Katarina. These two cards are the exact same but of different rarities, so if you want to have the happier Katarina to use in your deck, you have to hope you get the R+ version of the card. But I like that Aramia is in the background always watching her even when she's happy, so it's a little bit of a creepy card with that context in mind, but if you know the events of Fire Emblem 12, Katarina will be fine. Nor and Yggdrasil are also back in this pack, though not as prominently featured as the new mystery cards. Like Takumi's retainers shared artwork, Leo's retainers have one as well, with Odin and Niles. And again, like Hinata and Oboro, Leo and Niles are in their promoted class, with Odin being the Dark Knight class like Leo, and Niles in the Adventurer class. Then in Yggdrasil, the shared art card is Trevant and Quan clashing the Gungnir and the Gaebulk against one another, depicting the events of the Yi Desert Massacre. This is where Quan ultimately meets his end, but what's ironic is that because of Quan's card effect, he does best with flyers, making Quan main character decks nothing but flyers. Maybe it isn't ironic, maybe it was fate this whole time. In Series 16, we're back in a few places like Tellius, Valentia, and the Binding Blade Alib, but only characters from Alib will have shared artwork in this set. We already went over the Roy and Lucina one, but the sibling duo Klein and Clarine share one as well. Klein, being the son of Pent, also ranks highly in my list of favorites, but I like that in this one he has his back turned, letting Clarine take more of the spotlight in this piece. The other shared artwork are from the Defenders of Ostia, with Barth, Wendy, and Bors showcasing their ability to do the triangle attack in this game. I'm not gonna lie, I've done the armor triangle attack once, and I've never done it again despite playing Fire Emblem 6 at least 100 times. Not because these characters are bad like what most people would think, but because I couldn't handle the sheer levels of power. In Series 18, besides the Crom and Emerin one that we talked about, we're back in Magville, showcasing a different brother and sister duo in Innes and Tana. What's interesting about this shared artwork though is that Innes is riding a horse, and this isn't a mistake either, as there is a horse icon on the card itself. I personally like the horse riding Innes more than Sniper Innes, so I hope that if they ever remake the Sacred Stones, Innes can have this option. It's also nice to see the pair share artwork, as I'm a fan of the siblings, especially after the dodge that Tana did in the Fire Emblem 8 co-op thing that I did over at SpeedyOg's channel. For those that are in the know, shout out you guys. Series 22, the final series in Cipher, all the remaining shared art is from 3 houses. And of course, it's going to the house leaders of the game, featuring Dimitri, Edelgard, and Claude, not upside down for once. In their unpromoted cards, they take front and center, with the emblems being prominently featured. And then, in the same set, their promoted versions follow the same layout as their unpromoted versions, but this time with their relic weapons being the things that are prominently featured instead. And this concludes all the shared artwork in Fire Emblem Cipher, but there are 2 major ones that I still need to talk about. There are 2 big mural pieces that collectors like myself went out of their way to collect. The first being the legendary inheritors. Scattered around in many different series, this shows off the Blinding Blade characters in the pose of the original 8 legendary heroes of Lead. I also made a video talking about this, so I will not go too in depth here, but this was one of the most fun I had collecting Cipher cards, and also one of the most expensive because of how playable a lot of these cards were in the actual Cipher game, driving up the price since both competitive players and collectors were hunting for these cards. The other one is a long mural showing off each of the lords from the mainline games, all done by the official artist of the game or someone closely associated to the growth of Fire Emblem Cipher. You can collect all of these cards in the final series, Series 22, and it was Cipher's way of saying goodbye to its player base with a fun, final collection. I bought 3 boxes, still didn't get AIK, and had to buy them as a single. It's sad that they discontinued Fire Emblem Cipher in favor of Fire Emblem Heroes, and I can't exactly blame them, but at least they sent us off with a bang. And that concludes all the shared artwork in Fire Emblem Cipher's history. I'll include a Serenus Forest link in the description so you can take a look at the cards yourself as well. As a fan of Cipher, I'll probably make more Cipher videos, but this is all I have for today. This has been JaeAIK, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.